With the recent release of the Teal Masks DLC, I wanted to challenge myself to hit Pokémon Scarlet, but using only Grass-Type Pokémon, alongside hardcore Nuzlocke rules to increase the difficulty of the challenge, and definitely with no other ulterior motive for the future. After creating a character that looks high 24/7, I started my adventure with a nice spiritual trip thanks to my very real Nintendo Switch, and by the time I came back to my senses, I was presented with the 3 Paldean starters. My eyes were immediately drawn to Sprigatito, the only grass type of the 3, and one with a very peculiar smell. I called him Mint, and I would like to know which new grass type is your favorite from the Paldea region. Before the DLC, I would have said Sprigatito, but now... well... After a quick battle with Nemona, I advanced through Poco Path and got my first encounter, a hobbit called Cotton. His stats are pretty mediocre, but he'll be essential for the run. I then encountered a weird lizard with an addiction to sandwiches, only rivaled by my own. We quickly bonded together, and by that I mean it wouldn't leave me alone and ask for more sandwiches. Although, to be fair, it did save me from getting mauled by a wild level 40 Houndoom. I guess it's the small things in life that count. And with that near-death experience on the trauma bug, we get out of the cave and find Sandwich Boy Arven, who apparently was the original trainer of this thing called Coridon, and was fed up with it because it kept eating his sandwiches non-stop, so he gave it to me. Since this game doesn't have many of what we would normally call routes in previous games, and there's a lot of overlapping encounters, I decided to catch every grass-type Pokémon I come across, instead of the usual one per route. This means that I can get my hands on Sunflower the Sunker and Mangosteen the Bounsweet in the South Province Area 1. Right now, they won't be that useful, because they suck, these Pokémon are terrible, but they'll get better as they evolve. Well, at least most of them. After another quick battle with Nemona, we enter Mesagosa, a city full of opportunities. And by opportunities, I mean once I leave this shithole, I'm free. It's been an hour. Somebody please end this torture. Why is the intro so damn long? My first experience in this city was some weirdo harassing a girl because her hair looked like she dumped 2 painting cans on herself. Which, you know, fair enough. I didn't want to get involved though, but unfortunately they picked the only path to the academy to be annoying, so I had to beat them up. He gave up. Come on, man, it's not that hard. Get up the stairs. They really ran at like 5 FPS, huh? My game crashed. Fan-freaking-tastic. Nemona politely asked me to challenge the gyms across the Paldea region, and then challenge the Pokémon League, so I had to oblige. Meanwhile, I agreed with Arven to help him create the world's best sandwich. What I didn't know was that I would have to battle giant beasts the size of a small building, but I wasn't listening, I was hungry, and I thought he was just inviting me to eat. Later someone hacked my phone and asked me to help them destroy Team Star, and while I disliked them, that sounded like too much work, so I said no. However, she threatened me with turning my phone into a Samsung Galaxy Note 7, so I had no other choice but to agree. But with that, I'm finally free, and I can actually play the game, so I head for the first challenge of the run, the back gym in Cortondo. On my way there I found a Smoliv which I called Olive, but unfortunately, looking at what's ahead, this Pokemon is useless, as is basically every other Pokemon that I have. Back types are famous for 2 things, being bad and eating plants, and unfortunately for me, at this point in the game the only one that matters is the second one. With my current team, there is no chance I'm beating Katie's team of Predators, so I had to look for a new member. That member was an Applin I found in a raid. He happened to eat a Steel type, which will be invaluable throughout the run, and I named him Flower. But more importantly, he has a move which will be key to our victory, Rollout. This move's power increases with each consecutive use, and being a rock type move, it's perfect to squash those pesky bugs. Unfortunately, Applin is basically as strong as you would expect an actual apple to be, so I had to go on an adventure in search for an item to evolve him. On this long journey, I got a plethora of new members for the team, those being Leaf the Eevee, Jalapeño the Capsakid, and Pasture the Skido. On my way to the Tactile Thicket, I found a Firestone, and out of sheer dumb luck, I found both sweet and tart apples alongside a Leaf Stone. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, however, this did not make up for the torture that was getting here without the dash upgrade. But anyways, with those I was able to evolve Eevee into Leafeon, Capsakid into Scovillain, and I decided to evolve Applin into Appleton for the extra bulk.
Ronaldinho success!
And now, it's finally time for the first team battle against Katie's Bugs. And Flower rollouts all over her team, giving Katie 3 new dormants. The highlight of this battle really is how comically large Dax on top of Appleton is when he terastalizes. The level cap is 1 whole level, but that does mean Mint can evolve into Floragato. which is a shame really, because while it is better stat-wise, it loses all of its cuteness. I also evolved Sunflower into Sunflora in hopes that it becomes useful. We'll see how that goes. Up next is the first Terran Pokémon, Clove, which is a rock type, and looking at my team you would expect this would be easy as hell, but no, yeah, it was super easy. Leaf completely destroyed the first phase, and for the second phase I started with a Charm to harshly lower its attack, and with a Razor Leaf alongside Arven's Shelter using Water Gun and Ice Shard, the Terran fell without much of a fight. Inside a cave we found a plant called Herba Mystica. Unfortunately it was just a condiment, but he did make me a sandwich, so not everything was bad. I got Corayon out of its ball to taunt him with the sandwich, and his angry ass almost ripped my arm apart in one bite. On my way to the second gym, I encountered Nemona. This is the second time I found her inside the gym building I went in. You're right, Nemona. What a weird coincidence. Anyways, Brezo's grass types were absolutely scorched by Jalapeño's flamethrower, granting us an even easier batch. With the new level cap of 20, there are a couple of new encounters that I can catch. First, I got Mushroom the Shroomish, who will be useless for now, because I want to wait until it learns a Spore at level 40, since Breloom is unable to learn it. I then backtracked to catch Deerling, which I completely forgot about previously, and named him Maple. Finally, outside of Levins I got a Rotom named Nora Plant since, well, it isn't a plant. Unfortunately, I won't be able to use it until the 4th gym, when I'll be able to change its form. Also, a weird bug happened after the battle, where Cotton wanted to evolve but the game got stuck and nothing happened, so I had to restart and catch Rotom again. That was the first time this happened to me, and it happened again a couple of times later, and even while I was playing the Teal Mask DLC on release on my Switch. Anyways, returning to this big masterpiece Game Freak programmed with absolutely zero bugs, my next catch was a Toadschool which I named Woodier. Our next challenge is once again a Titan, this time a flying type 1, which sounds scary, but thanks to Flower, Steel, Terra and Leech Seed, all of its attack just bounce off Flower, and with Rollout continuously increasing in power, Bombardier soon falls to the onslaught of attacks. Twice. Now let me introduce you to the first challenging battle of the run against Team Star leader Giacomo and his dark types. I expected his lead Ponyard to get decimated by a quite effective double kick from Maple, but he actually survived and retaliated with an aerial ace that would have definitely killed had it crit. However, another double kick finishes Ponyard. Last is the Starmobile, a modified rare room that is dummy thick. Look at the HP stat, it also has a base speed of 129, so yeah, I'm not outspeeding that. Aside from that, its signature move Wicked Torque has a 10% chance to put my Pokemon to sleep, and it's a pretty strong move at this point of the game. So for that I swap into Leaf, who takes it fine and doesn't fall asleep. Then it tries to use Snarl but misses, as a Charm harshly lowers its attack. This makes it so it won't try to use Wicked Torque, reducing the chances of me losing because of sleep. I did it again for good measure, but it hit Leaf with a metal sound, meaning the following Snarls would be dangerous, so it's time to swap into Flower. The Snarls do around 20% to him, mainly because he has quite literally the worst special defense possible, with a lowering Rush nature and 0 IVs. At this point in the game, I don't even have good recovery options like Leftover or Synthesis, and Leech Seed doesn't work on Starmobiles, so I had to improvise. Thanks to Flower's ability Ripen, Oranberry's heal for 20 HP instead of 10, and with access to Recycle, I can create an infinite cycle to heal myself. I was using Bullet Seed as well to ignore the special attack drops from Snarl, and basically this battle dragged for minutes, with me switching out when Giacomo used Metal Sound, using Recycle to keep Appleton safe, and hitting Bullet Seeds occasionally. This way I took a good chunk of its HP, until I swapped into Jalapeño to finish the monster's drag with a couple more Bullet Seeds from him, defeating Giacomo and obtaining another batch. Ion and her electric types are up next, but before that I caught a Brambling outside of Levincia and named him Tumbleweed. There's also a fight against Nemona before the gym battle, but it isn't worth going over it since Mint swept her entire team alone. But now back to Iono, and once again this fight wasn't particularly hard, as a Terra boosted Double Edge from Leaf destroys her Wattrol, and then Sunflora can come in against her Bellibolt and Luxio and basically kill them while taking almost no damage thanks to a combination of Giga Drain and Leech Seed. Congratulations, Sunflower, you actually did something! Erasmus Magius can be a bit tricky to fight, since with Electric Terra she has no weakness thanks to Levitate and likes to use Confuse Ray. However, as she tries to use Hex, I swap into Leafeon who was immune thanks to the normal Terra. The following Terra boosted Charge Beam misses, as a boosted Double Edge of my own leaves the Ghostly Light Bulb with around 15%. After that I swap into Woodier to avoid the Charge Beam, but used Confuse Ray instead. I stayed in as a Hex did a little under half, and a Mega Drain connects for pitiful damage. Finally, Aberdeen Flower also got confused by Miss Magius, but still connected with his Pallet Seed, winning us another gym battle. In comes my worst nightmare, the Team Starfire squad led by Mela. Now, you may not know this, but let me indulge you in a well-kept secret. Plants fucking burn. And, you know, it doesn't help that her lead Torkoal sets up harsh sunlight thanks to Drought, meaning all fire-type moves would have 50% more power, which means my Pokemon would go from dead to deader. Is that even a word? Anyways, I'm losing the point I'm trying to make here. It's a hard battle, okay? Maybe if I had some way to get rid of the sun and at the same time decrease the power of fire moves. Oh hey, Rain Dance! However, this is not enough. Remember Wicked Torque from like a couple of minutes ago? Well, this one has its own version called Blazing Torque, and instead of causing a sleep, it burns the opponent. With the constant burn damage, there's no way Flower is living long enough to defeat the Starmobile. That's when I remembered a brand new item introduced in the game, the Covered Cloak, which can be bought in Levincia and negates secondary effects, so moves like Fake Out or Rock Slide can't flinch the user. Or Blazing Torque won't turn my Pokemon into charcoal. The battle starts with Leafen on my side and Torkoal on hers, and I quickly changes the Sun for Rain, which will last for 8 turns as well, thanks to a dump rock I found outside of Levincia. This alongside Terra Normal means that Leafen is taking basically nothing from the incoming Flame Wheel. After trading match shots and clear smokes back and forth, Torkoal finally falls with Leaf still above half thanks to Leech Seed, and with 4 turns of Rain left when the Starmobile comes in. Its first overhit misses as I lower its attack with Charm, and the following turn I do the same, but a Screech harshly lowers Leaf's defense, so that's my cue to leave. Once Appleton hits the field, I can set up grassy terrain to mitigate the damage received each turn, Rain Dance to restore the rain, and recover when my health drops too low. This battle ends the only way Flower knows, by using Rollout to claim another victim, earning the team a victory for the hardest battle so far. And the following Titan Earthworm is a lot easier in comparison, as Appleton sets up a grassy terrain to sustain itself while slowly chipping away at Earthworm with Apple Acid, which lowers its already low special defense, exponentially increasing his damage with each hit. For the second phase, Arven is helping with his Toad School, so you know it should be much easier, right? Thank you, Arven. Anyways, this time I used Leech Seed, as I intended because I definitely did not forget to change it for the first phase. And then it's basically the same as before, just longer. Next is Kofu and his water types, but yeah, this gym went as you would expect. Everything just got overwhelmed by the type advantage. On a side note, I was able to buy the Rotom catalog, which means I can change Rotom's form, though I won't be using it for now. And well, those were 2 nice relaxed battles. Let's go back to the Nightmare, because next is the Team Star Poison base. But first, I added some new members to the team, starting with Cacnea that I named Cactus, and a Fungus named Fungus, and a Tropius named Banana. I have such a way with names. I also spent like an hour on top of a Pokémon Center, so my Brumbling kept spinning below me for the required 1000 steps to evolve into Bramblegast. I also evolved Woodyear into a Toadscruel. Against Atticus Lead Skuntank, I sent Toadscruel, who can outspeed and hit her with a Mud Shot for around half, as she retaliates with a Toxic. The poison, however, is instantly cured by a Pecha Berry, and then another one is enough to finish Skuntank. Atticus sends his Mach next, which is a fair bit bulkier than Skuntank, meaning that Mud Shots only do around a quarter, but his Sludge Waves do around a quarter too. So by using some Mud Slaps to decrease its accuracy, and some more Mud Shots afterwards, the pile of Sludge falls. In comes Revavroom, and I swap into Bramblegast for the incoming Iron Head, which did a lot more than I expected. That would have killed with a crit for sure, but now I can switch into Flower for the incoming Assurance, which doesn't do much. Now with Terra Steel and the leftovers that I bought on Cascarafa, I can use 2 Bulldozes to defeat the small engine, meaning that its big brother engine comes out for revenge. However, even though Flame Charge is super effective, it does basically nothing, and I can very slowly chip away at its health while maintaining myself healthy with leftovers and recover until it falls, meaning that I've beaten the hopes and dreams of another child. I'm the hero of this story, by the way. Speaking of beating hopes and dreams, it's time for Larry, and they have been long gone for him. I just need to order the weirdest dish they could think of, and did I just kill those people? By the way, Mint finally evolved into Furivate, Meowscarada. I also changed Rotom to its Lawnmower form, and bought a loaded dice from Levincia, which guarantees that moves like Bullet Seed will hit at least 4 times. and I immediately put it to good use by giving it to Bramblegast. But first, I started the battle with Meowscarada, who uses U-turn for half thanks to a crit, and then I can easily stall out the Sucker Punch PP by using Confuse Ray. Once he's out of Sucker Punches, some Bullet Seeds finishes the job. The incoming Dunsparce is only able to paralyze me and do pitiful damage with Drill Run. Once I chipped him enough, I swap into Rotom, who is immune to the Drill Run thanks to Levitate and cannot speed and take the kill with an Electro Ball. Last is Staraptor, but now everything is in place. As it terastallizes into a normal type to boost its Facade, I do the same but into a Ghost type, becoming immune to Facade, and a Miracle Seed boosted Leaf Storm is enough for the one shot. Immediately after the gym fight, I had to battle Nemona, and that's why I started the battle against Larry with Mint, since he cannot speed and one-shot Lycanroc with a Flower Trick, avoiding she sets up some annoying pointy pebbles. For Gumi, I first pivot out with U-turn into Toadskrull, who doesn't take much from a Dragon Pulse and can finish the Gumi with a Mud Shot. Next is Pomo, but he can't really touch Bramblegast, who takes him down with a Bullet Seed. Last is here evolved Quaquaval, who immediately terastallize into a pure water type, but I switch into Rotom, who takes very little from Aqua Step, and is able to use Leaf Storm for the one shot. The next gym battle is against Ghost type, so I decided to bring some Pokemon from the bench, with Olive evolving into Arboliva, Maple into Southback, and Cactus into Cacturne. I also managed to get my hands on a Snowbear on my way up Glaciado Mountain. I named him Pine, and he will definitely come in handy, as it is the only Pokemon from the team that doesn't take super effective damage from ice type attacks. Or at least the one that can take hits. However, after accepting the gym challenge, I had some weird experiences. First, there was this Drippy whose eyes just started shining like a disco ball, and then there was a Sarina just standing in front of the door. I got curious and changed my Sarina's position in the PC, and she just kinda disappeared. Damn, Meowscarada's 4 hits different. After defeating Pokemon's most critical, I was able to challenge Rayman and her Ghost types, but this fight usually does not give any problems due to the boost you receive constantly from the crowd, so everything just drops to Mint's Night Slashes except for Mimikyu, who is dealt with by Bullet Seed from Maple. For the Quicken Earth Titan Great Task, I just used Banana without an item to keep Knockoff unpowered, as its other attacks either don't affect, are not very effective, or Rapid Spin, and a single Leaf Storm is enough to end the first phase. The next phase is basically the same, but I need 1 Leaf Storm and 2 Magical Leaves. The level cap stays at level 45 for the next gym, a Psychic one, but before that there is a rival fight against Nemona that I'm going to skip because it goes basically the same as before, but I used Abomasnow for Sliggoo instead. And after completing the most boring and unnerving gym challenge in the entire game, I once again experienced an otherworldly encounter in the gym building, this time with Maple instead. I really need to stop with the fur. Either way, after that, the gym battle goes pretty smoothly. Farigiraf does survive a Night Slash from Meowscarada and sets up a Reflect, but another one kills him. The incoming Gardevoir gets one shot by a Terra boosted Flower Trick, since it always crits, bypassing the Reflect defense boost. Surprisingly, Spathra survives the Flower Trick with just a sliver, and Psychic takes half, but with a U-turn she goes down, allowing me to pivot into Tumbleweed, as she brings in her ace, Florges. She terastallises into a Psychic type as I use Phantom Force, and since her defense stat is so low, a single one is enough for a clean one shot, giving us another badge for the collection. In preparation for the Ice Gym, I decided to catch the last encounters I could get for now, those being a Fomantis called Orchid and a wild Lilligant called Lily, because I was unable to find any wild Petilil, but they weren't really useful for the most part. I also finally evolved Mushroom into a Breloom now that it can learn Spore, and unlike the previous two mentioned, Mushroom became one of the most reliable members of the team, and since you can purchase mints at this point, I decided to get a modest one for Jalapeno. The fight against Crucia can turn bad very quickly if I'm not careful. I don't really have many options against them, at least defensively. Jalapeno is my best bet in terms of damage, because I'm able to set up Sunny Day as Frostmoth set up Tailwind, which not only boosts my fire move's power by 50%, but thanks to Chlorophyll also doubling Jalapeno's speed, he can still outspeed Frostmoth under Tailwind, one-shotting her with a Flamethrower. The incoming Vertic follows the same fate, but Tensei Titan comes out next, thanks to Thick Fat reducing the damage from fire moves, and this Pokemon being thick as hell with a base 170 HP, a Flamethrower is not enough for a one-shot. Flamethrower leaves Tensei Titan with around 25% as Jalapeno takes an Ice Spear that would have definitely killed with a crit. However, this activates his held eject button, allowing me to bring in Flowers safely. Now he can terastallize into a Steel type and finish Tensei Titan with an Apple Acid. Last is Terrorize Altaria, who can basically do nothing to Appletun aside from being annoying with confusions from Hurricane, eventually falling to Appleton's Apple Acid too. With that, the gym challenge is completed. I could go challenge the Pokémon League already, but there's still a couple of things that I have to do. Starting with the next star base, controlled by Ortega, who specializes on fairy types, and gets absolutely swept. It's not even close. The only thing that survives for long is his star mobile, and only because I was stuck using clear smoke to damage it with a Mungus. Next is the False Dragon Titan, and the first phase against Dondoso ends with a single Leaf Storm from Nora Plant. While for the second I needed 1 Leaf Storm and 2 discharges. The third phase against Tatsugiri is slightly harder, as that dragon typing makes it hard for me to hit him super effectively. He outspeeds and hits a Muddy Water, which happens to lower Rotom's accuracy, but somehow it still connects with a 90% accurate Thunder Wave. Next turn I pivot out with Volt Switch for some chip, and bring out Pine, who takes nothing from Icy Wind. And as the Titan gets fully paralyzed, I set up an Aurora Veil. With that, I almost not took him down with some Ice Shard thanks to Arven's Greed and lowering its defense with Tail Whip, and chipping away at him with Takedown. With the last run defeated, Arven is able to cure his sick dog from Ligma, and they lived happy ever after. Well, he later discovers that he's now an orphan, and what he thought was his mother recently was just an AI replica. But that's beside the point. By the way, Arven, can I keep the rest of those herbs? You know, for research. And now, time for the last patch fight against the Fighting Team Star leader, which just so happens to be the hardest battle so far. I had to theory craft for a long time for this battle, mainly because my jump up sucks. None of his IVs are even 10, except for his speed, with defense being a flat 0, which just so happens to be the stat that I need the most right now. Let's see how this goes. The Team Star leader area starts with Toxicroak, and I do with Suspect, who is one of the few Pokemon I have that is able to learn a psychic move, Zen Headbutt, and thanks to his Held Wide Lens, it has 99% accuracy. Thankfully, it doesn't miss, so Maple one-shots the Toxicroak. Next is Herpasimian, but by switching into Jumpluff, the close combat doesn't destroy Maple, although it still does a substantial amount of damage to Cotton thanks to those terrible stats he has. A Grid one has a high chance of sending him 6 feet under, but I have to risk it as I use Anchor to force him to keep using close combat instead of Ice Punch, which would have definitely destroyed Cotton. A Held Citrus Berry brings him back close to half HP, and now I spam Synthesis until his Anchor finished. This meant that his defense was now at -4, and since Cotton consumed his Citrus Berry, he no longer has an item, so a 110 base power Acrobatics one-shots Passimian. In comes Annihilate, and this is the problem. This Pokemon is just too strong and bulky for my team, so unfortunately I need a sacrifice. A U-turn does little damage, but allows me to pivot into Maple, who has to take 1 for the team. He barely leaves an Ice Punch, but thankfully it didn't crit, so he can send Headbutt for some chip, bringing him slightly above half, as a close combat deletes Maple from this world, marking the first death of the run. Thanks to Maple's sacrifice, an LP is around half and with its defense lowered, allowing Tumbleweed to come in, outspeed, and finish the job for our fallen member with a Phantom Force. Her Lucario runs a special set, so Woodier is able to come in on a soft Dark Pulse, then an Earth Power leaves Lucario in the red, as an Aura Sphere takes a good chunk, but thanks to Leftover and Protect, I can mitigate that damage. Next turn, another Aura Sphere hits Woodier as I went for a Spore. Now that Lucario is asleep, I can switch into Tropius as he's forced to take his first turn of sleep, then he stays asleep, and an Air Slash ends Lucario. Last is their Starmobile, but Banana's bulk is enough to take very little from its attacks, even boosted by Shift Gear, and a couple of Air Slashes defeat the Starmobile, granting us the 18th and final batch, although it came with a painful loss. We are now in the endgame, but before the Pokémon League, I have to fight definitely not Director Clavel outside of the academy. He starts with an Oranguru and I do with Mint. A Flower Trick takes about half as he uses John. The following U-turn finishes Oranguru and avoids Meowscarada falling asleep. I decide to bring in Jalapeno as another Pokemon would bait in Abomasnow and I need to avoid that for now. Jalapeno baits Gyarados Stone Edge, so I swap into Olive, who takes around half from a crit Stone Edge, but disactivates Seed Sower, creating a grassy terrain that will keep healing me, but not Gyarados because of his flying type. By using it Protect alongside Leftovers, Grassy Terrain and Leech Seed, I can keep myself alive while slowly draining Gyarados' health away, until it is low enough for me to swap into Meowscarada, who takes nothing from a resisted Crunch since Gyarados is out of Stone Edge PP. Now, I can use U-turn to defeat Gyarados and pivot once again into Jalapeno, and this time Abomasnow comes out. With this, I can now avoid him setting up Aurora Veil, melting him with a quite effective flamethrower. The incoming Poltergeist drops to a single Night Slash from Meowscarada, and next is Amoonguss. First I use a Night Slash for some chip as he goes for Toxic. Next is a U-turn to pivot into Tropius now that he won't use Toxic, and Mana takes nothing from a Hex. The following turn I set up a Rain Dance as another Hex still does nothing, and with a final Air Slash, Amoonguss goes down. Last is his Terrafire Skeletorch. I swap into Flower, but because of the rain, it goes for Shadow Ball instead of Torch Song, which I did not expect, but it doesn't matter, as my Health Eject button activates anyways, allowing me to bring in Woodier for free. A Shadow Ball takes a good chunk of HP as Woodier goes for a Spore, and now she can outspeed twice and go for Earth Power, defeating Skeletorch and Director Clavel. I mean Cleave. In preparation for the Pokémon League, I got another Applin named Apple, which I evolved into Flapple this time, and since there was another one there, I also got it to evolve it eventually into Deepling. I also bought a couple of Silver Caps and a Choice Scarf, and picked up the Life Orb from Caseroya Lake. For the Pokémon League, I decided to add an extra rule to make it more difficult. As you are able to change your team between fights, that makes everything much more boring and easier, so I decided that I can only use the 6 Pokémon I entered the league with. In this case, Meowscarada, Breloom, Scovillain, Bramblegast, Abomasnow, and Flapple. Let's see how this goes. I start the battle against Rika's ground types with Tumbleweed, as she starts with Whiscash. The plan was to bait her into using Blizzard, which I would be immune to thanks to Wind Rider. However, as I set up a layer of spikes, Whiscash goes for Muddy Water, but does pretty full damage. After setting up all 3 layers, I swap into Mint, and even if he got his accuracy lowered by Muddy Water, since Flower Trick doesn't miss, it wouldn't have mattered. To this day, I still don't understand why Game Freak felt like this attack needed to not miss, aside from being always a crit, but hey, here we are. Now, after Terastalizing to increase the power of Meowscarada's Flower Trick, everything drops to it, and thanks to the spikes, Donphan's Sturdy breaks, which means it falls too, and even her Clodsire, which she was kind enough to get rid of his Poison typing for the one-shot. Next is Poppy with her Steel types. She starts with Operaja, and I open with Breloom. A low kick is enough for the one-shot, as Corbin comes out next. I put the Armored Bird to sleep immediately with a Spore, and then switch into Jalapeno, who can use Overheat with a Wide Lens equipped to avoid missing. Bronzong follows after Jalapeno turned Corviknight into a normal bird, so I brought in Min, who is immune to the following Zen Headbutt, and can follow up with a Life Orb boosted Night Slash that leaves Bronzong with a Sliver, as its Iron Head doesn't even take half from Mint. With a U-turn, Bronzong falls, and I can bring Mushroom back in as Poppy sends Magnezone, which I immediately put to sleep with a Spore, and then falls to Low Kick. Last is her Tinkaton, who she immediately Terastalizes into a pure Steel type, but Tinkaton is faster than she looks like, and outspeeds Mushroom, so I turn myself into a pure Grass type to avoid super effective damage from Play Rough. As a close combat one-shots the Psychotic Gremlin. Larry is much easier than Poppy, as he can lead Abomasnow against his Tropius, who loves to set up Sunny Day and boost my speed with Trailblaze. And since it is such a slow Pokémon, even with Chlorophyll, Abomasnow outspeeds at +2, and by changing the weather with a Snowscape, he's forced to charge Solar Beam. Once I have the speed boost I need, I use the Snowscape one last time, before Blizzard one-shots his entire team. Hazel is definitely the hardest of the Elite 4 with his Dragon types, but I have a plan. He starts with a Noivern and I lead with Flapple. He has the Choice Scarf equipped, so after Terastalizing into a Dragon type, he can outspeed and one-shot Noivern with a Terra Blast. Because he doesn't learn Dragon Claw. Hazel then sends his own Flapple, but she also falls to a Terra Blast, and his Tragalgi follows the same fate. In comes Haxorus, so it's time to swap into Pine, who tanks the incoming Dragon Claw very well thanks to a defense boost from Snow. Now that Pine baits Iron Head, I can swap back into Apple, who takes around half, and with Outrage, both Haxorus and his Ace Pack Excalibur fall in one shot. Now, who is stronger? The champion of an entire region, supposedly the strongest trainer around, or one furry boy with a weird marble? Champion Gira starts the battle with her Spathra, and I do start this journey with Mint. After Terastalizing into a pure Grass type, a single boosted Flower Trick is enough for the one shot, and it's the same for her Velusa. Her following Avalok falls to a Grass Knot, and King Gambit to a Low Kick. However, here ends the Meowscarada sweep, because next is Go-Goat, who has Sap Zipper, and I'm low enough for a crit kill due to the Life Orb recoil. So here's the plan. First, I use U-turn to pivot into Jalapeno. If he attacks, the eject button will activate, and if he uses Bulk Up instead, I'll just burn him to a crisp. Next, I would use Endure to safely switch into Mint. Gear ends up going for option 1, which means that the eject button activates, allowing me to bring in Flapple, who can finish Go-Goat with a U-turn and bring Meowscarada back to end the sweep, who one-shots her Ace Glimora with a Flower Trick. crowning us champions of the Paldea region. But we're not done yet, since there are some more battles left. Cassiopeia's, or rather Penny's battle was quite underwhelming, so I leave hers out, but at least I am now free from an exploding phone. Arbenz at least requires some more strategy. I did with Tropius against his Griden and used Tailwind to double my team's speed. Audislam then hits Tropius, activating his health eject button, allowing me to bring in Brillium safely. Van close combat its way through his Griden, Scovillain and Toadscrew. Next is his Garganacl, so I swap into Cotton for the body press, which does basically no damage, allowing me to use Anchor to force him to keep doing it. Next, I use Sunny Day, and then U-turn to pivot into Scovillain, who takes around half from a body press. Now, a Solar Beam deals with Garganacl and Cloyster, and Maustiff goes back to a coma with a sun boosted overheat. The only one left is Nemona, with a final battle between champions in Mesagoza. As with every other battle between us, I led with Mint in response to her Lycan Rock, who falls to a single flower trick, and the incoming Pomot suffers the same fate after I terrestrialize Meowscarada for another one-shot. Next is Goodra, so I pivot into Abomasnow using U-turn, which takes close to half. The damage from the Ice Beam meant for Meowscarada is reduced by Held Assault Vest, resulting in a very weak attack. The following Sludge Bomb, however, does close to half and poisons Spine, but he retaliates with an Ice Punch for the KO. In comes Earthworm, so I switch into Rotom, and even a crit Iron Tails does basically nothing. I then use Ball Switch to pivot into Mushroom, who takes around half from a body press, and can finish off the Earthworm with a close combat. Dodonspur's however can leave one, so not wanting to risk it, I go for a Spore and then switch into Leafeon, who is able to tank its attacks and avoid that Dodonspurs increases attack too much with Coil using Charm. At the same time, Leech Seed makes sure to reduce its HP slowly. After lowering his attack and stalling his Hyper Drill PP, Mint can come in, not fearing even a crit Dragon Rush, as Dodonspurs falls to the Leech Seed damage. Finally, a final Flower Trick one-shots her terrestrialized Quaquable, ending the battle and showing the people watching the battle who is the strongest champion in the region. And with that, I finished the main story of the game, all the loose ends finally tied together, so I could finally go into my room and relax with some nice sleep. But I had this weird dream where I descended into the abyss, with the three idiots that used me for their own personal benefit, and there were some weird Pokemon there. Something about a time machine, and apparently Arven's mother, who apparently actually wasn't her mother, but a robot that tried to kill me in a Pokemon battle, which, you know, I didn't exactly appreciate. She started with Slitherwing, and I started with Cotton, who was surprisingly strong enough to one-shot it with an Acrobatics. In comes a Screamtail, who knows Ice Punch, so I swap into Pine, who takes almost nothing thanks to a defense boost from Snow. Even a super effective Drain Punch doesn't do much as I set up an Aurora Veil. I then swap into Leaf, who took a whole 13 HP, and Ice Punch didn't do much either as he sets up Leech Seed. Now by using Charm I can reduce its damage further even after Aurora Veil ends. Once the Screamtail was low enough, I swapped back into Abomasnow, who would bait Drain Punch, giving me a safer switch into Cotton, who takes an Ice Punch to set up Tailwind and then finishes the Screamtail with a U-turn. This way I can bring in Meowscarada against her Flutter main, who is one speedy demon, and one-shot it with a Terra boosted Flower Trick, and Sunday Shocks follows the same fate. In comes Brood Bonnet, and since Mint is no longer a Dark type, a crit Sucker Punch could kill him, so I had to swap into Leaf, who can lower its attack with Charm while wasting its PPs. Once at -6, I brought in Cotton, who could chip away with Acrobatics, and then finish it with a U-turn, allowing me to bring Mint back in, who one-shots Roaring Moon with a Play Rough with boosted accuracy thanks to White Lens, finishing the battle. However, it was at this point when I woke up in a cold sweat in my room. I'm not sure if it was a dream, or I was just too far gone, because I had a Pokeball with a Brood Bonnet inside called Mycelium. I decided to go outside for a walk, when my teacher from the academy called because I was a winner for a school trip to the land of Kitakami. I felt like I needed some vacations from whatever the hell I did the past week, so of course I accepted. However, the level caps dropped significantly for a while, so I'm left with only 6 usable Pokemon. This isn't even my B team or C team, this is like Team Omega, the bottom of the barrel that I never used, and Brood Bonnet. I even had a great start. When I tried to evolve Orchid into Lurantis, it glitched again. Thank you, Game Freak. Anyways, I also managed to catch a Sewaddle named Spruce that I never used, but hey, it's there I guess. The fight against Carmine went mostly uneventful, except for her Vulpix that almost killed Pasture because she burned me, Earthquake didn't KO, and then used Disable, so I was forced to use Horn Leech, which didn't kill either, and Flamethrower almost made Pasture become just dirt. Now that I was free to do whatever I wanted, I went on a catching spree where I found Oak the Seedot, Flytrap the Bellsprout, Lillipat the Lombre, as well as the new Pokemon Poltergeist, who just so happened to be the 1% artisan form. I also bought a syrupy apple for the Applin I caught a while back and evolved it into Deepling. And while looking for the item to evolve Poltergeist, I found a level 75 Terranormal Trevenant, who I also caught and named Groove. I then evolved most of my new Pokemon fully, although I can't use most of them for now. I'm skipping most of the fights against Kirang because nothing really happens, it's more just me bullying a small child. Which, don't get me wrong, I find kinda funny, but the video is getting a bit long. I also got an egg from Jack, which hatched into a Tortwig that I named Bonsai. Afterwards, while in the festival, Carmen and I found a small child with a mask that was in reality the ogre from the stories of Kitakami, said to have terrorized their village in the past, which makes them hard to believe, because the only thing that this Pokemon could terrorize is my heart with an overdose of cuteness. And sure enough, that legend was a lie, as the ogre was just a pure Pokemon victim of racism and robbed of her most important possessions and partnered by a supposed loyal three, just wanted to steal her masks. In revenge, she killed them. No, yeah, there's no soft way to put that. She genuinely killed them. Deserved, honestly. I would do it myself if I could, but Jesus Christ. But anyways, our mission is now to fix Ogerpon's mask, which was damaged when it fell down the stairs, and give it back to her. This involves speeding the absolute living shit out of a poor Milotic to take some crystal from a poorly optimized lake, but by the time we went back, Kieran stole the mask because he's obsessed with the ogre. Unfortunately for him, I don't care, so it's bullying time. Also, my Tortwig evolved on top of a roof. There's no punchline. After the battle, the Lousy 3 are revived for some unexplained reason. It could be by the power of the crystal in my bag that is said can bring back the dead, but I would rather blame Kirang, who just punched the monument and probably broke his hand. Surely it's his fault. What an asshole, right? Hey, editing Sora here. While going frame by frame on this scene, I noticed these purple particles on Kirang's hands. So, it may actually be his fault and not just a joke. Anyways, subscribe. I need social validation, okay? I need imaginary numbers to go up. You leave alone the defenseless ogre that killed you in the past? She has to be forgiven because she's cute. Somehow, that didn't work, so I had to beat up the monkey, but the three of them ran away when Carmen and Kieran appeared. After giving Ogerpon the repaired mask, the three of us decided to return the 3 stolen masks to Ogerpon by the 3 assholes. Or well, that was the plan, but Kieran just dips out. Hate that kid. Okay. Jokes aside, this is very scary. All of them are poison types, which means that I don't have the best of matchups against them, and since they are legendaries, their stats are pretty high as well. Not to mention they are Titan battles, and they get a boost to one stat. But let's pause for a sec for something more important. Oh my god, she ran around me and then immediately fell asleep. So, with the important stuff out of the way, let's focus on the battles with the trio. I decided to start with, in my opinion, this is one of the 3, Pheasantipity, who is a poison fairy type, and he gets a +2 in speed. The thing is, it can't really touch Flower once it terrestrializes into a steel type, and between Leech Seed and Leftovers, he's basically taking no damage each turn. However, his Terrorblast in return also deals almost no damage, making this battle drag for a while. It doesn't help that it kept attacking me instead of Carmin's Morpeko, who dealt no damage, and even less when Aura Wheel was a dark type move. But finally, the bird goes down, and we retrieve the Hearthflame mask. Next is the Titanic Okidogi, a poison fighting type who gets a defense boost. It also knows Crunch, so it can hit Trevenant very hard. That's why I tried to burn it with Will-O-Wisp, which ended up being a terrible idea, because Carmin's Morpeko paralyzes it first, so I wasted a turn for nothing. But at least, Okidogi does get fully paralyzed. Next I use Leech Seed to at least have some sustain, as a close combat leaves Morpeko with 1 HP, and next turn I also confuse him with Confuse Ray, as another close combat knocks out Morpeko. But hey, at least he's paralyzed and back at neutral defense, and Carmin sends her Myrina next, which lowers his attack with Intimidate. Our attacks were basically tickling him, but luckily Okidogi focused Carmin's Pokemon and left me alone. Her Sinistcha at least does big damage with Shadow Ball, since his special defense isn't great compared to his defense, and he finally falls to one of her Shadow Balls, and with that we also recover the Cornerstone mask from Okidogi. Last is Munkidori, whose Poison Psychic type is a horrible matchup for my grassy friends. All of my Pokemon take super effective damage from either Poison or Psychic, except for the Ghost types. And it doesn't even matter because he also has Shadow Ball. To make matters worse, he has Nasty Plot, so if I don't end this battle quickly, there's a high chance that he'll just wipe my entire team. I start with Min, who has a King's Rock equipped. This makes Fling flinch him, allowing Morpeko to use Thunder Wave and paralyze Munkidori. Next, I use U-turn for some chip and pivot into Groove, as Carmin's Morpeko hits a Dark-type Aura Wheel for a good chunk of HP. However, as I feared, Munkidori starts to boost up with Nasty Plot. The following turn, I Terrestrialize Groove into a normal type to become immune to a possible Shadow Ball, as a lash out from Morpeko takes another good chunk of HP. I hit a Leech Seed, and as I thought, he tried to Shadow Ball my Trevenant. Another Aura Wheel brings Munkidori to the yellow, as a fan... Hold on, we're speed tied. Not even close. We were speed tied? Really? Luckily, I dodged both the 10% chance to poison from a Sludge Wave and the 30% chance to badly poison from Toxic Chain. However, Morpeko does not get so lucky and falls to Toxic Chain, and now, for some stupid reason, the AI decides to bring in Sinistcha instead of Myrina, when Munkidori is at +2 special defense, and the only physical move it has is an Unstab Foul Play, that is using Munkidori's attack stat of 75, basically doing nothing. And of course, this time I have to win the speed tie, and leave Munkidori with just a sliver. Which means that the time has come for Groove. We were together for a short time. Not even close. And with the last tick of Leech Seed damage, Munkidori falls, and the last mask has been recovered. After clearing up Ogerpon's name in the village, it's time for the final fight against Kiran for the custody of Ogerpon. Unfortunately for him, this is very personal, so I didn't exactly give him much of a chance. His lead shifter starts with a fake out, but then I use Fling with Mint again to flinch him, as he has a focus sash, and I don't want him setting up Tailwind. Then a U-turn is an easy KO, allowing me to bring in Matcha. This beats in Mega, so I swap into Rorom who can tank his Air Slash, and then outspeed the next turn thanks to a Hell Choice Scarf and hit a Thunderbolt for the one shot. In comes Gliscor, who will use X-Scissors, and Pine can easily take that thanks to the snow, and after Terastalizing, the next does even less, as a Blizzard one-shots even through a Yachi Berry. Poliwrath tries to use Close Combat, so I switch into Matcha who is immune, and then a Leaf Storm while holding a White Lens destroys him. Deepling comes out next, but Dragon Pulse isn't doing much to Banana, as a couple of Air Slashes do the job. Last is Probopass, who is completely walled by Torterra, and only leaves an Earthquake because it has Sturdy, as another one finishes the battle. I wanna! But if you think this is over, you are very wrong. I have to do the hardest part yet, battle Ogerpon, which means that I have to hurt her, and I don't know if my heart can take that. Alright, jokes aside, this fight really is scary, especially the first phase. The way this boss battle works is like this: Ogerpon has increased health, I think it's double health, but she is also terastalized, and you have to defeat her with each mask. In each phase, she receives a boost to one stat. In this case, the important one is the Fire Mask, the very first one, which gives an attack boost. So, you have Ogerpon's already high attack, immediately boosted, plus the Terra boost, plus stab, and the fact that her signature move Ivy Cudgel has 100 base power and high crit chance, and apparently the mask also boosts all of her moves power by 20%. To put you in perspective, this is how much it does to Deepling with an Eviolite. Oh yeah, fun fact, Eviolite works on Deepling by the way. When I was calculating the damage for this fight, I had to test it in game because I thought there was no way it was real. Spoiler alert, it was. And that wasn't even a crit, so that wasn't even max damage. Basically, Ogerpon is a nuke is what I'm trying to get across, and I have to defeat her 4 times in a row. I didn't exactly have many choices, so I started the battle with Lilipad and prayed for the best really, as she outspeeds thanks to a Choice Scarf, and a Water Terra boosted Surf brought Ogerpon below half. And even resisted and without a crit, Ivy Cudgel takes a good 80% from Lilipad's health. Luckily, it didn't crit, because that would mean the death of not only Lilipad, but probably 1 or 2 more members. But since there was no crit, I can surf again to defeat the first phase. Next is the water one, which is completely walled by Deepling thanks to quad resisting her Water Ivy Cudgel and Eviolite. Look how much a crit hit did compared to a non-crit before. It was a long struggle though, because she has Crushing Terrain to heal herself, and Slime still does some damage. Dragon Pulse isn't doing much either, because of the special defense boost this phase has. After it finally falls, in comes the rock phase, which gets a defense boost. Sugar still does not take that much, and Infestation does massive damage slowly alongside the occasional Dragon Pulse. But a poorly timed critical hit means that I had to swap into Breloom. He took the Cajole fairly well and could even take a crit, but she just creates another grassy terrain as a close combat ends phase 3. The last one is the Grass-Type Mask, and in this form, she can't do much to a Mungoose, who is able to use Toxic and hit her hard with a Sludge Bomb until the fight finally ends. Of course, I decided to catch her the only way you shoot, with a Friend Ball, and name her Season for her ability to swap between forms. And with that, I finish a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokémon Scarlet and the Teal Mask using only Grass-Type Pokémon. There's also a final fight against Carmine, but nothing special really happens, aside from me using Ogerpon. That was a fun run overall, not that hard, but some fights were definitely scary, like the last Team Star base and most of the legendary fights in the DLC. There's just a lot of grass types, although many of them weren't that useful, like Lilligant or Lurantis. Even then, it was fun, and that's mainly what you want when you play a game. I can't wait to use Ogerpon more, however, so I'll probably continue this after the second DLC drops. This was definitely not an excuse for me to use Ogerpon in a Nuzlocke. No, what are you talking about? No, of course not. No! If you enjoyed the video and have stayed this far and want to see more, please like the video and subscribe to my channel for more. I'll do more Scarlet and Violet runs, although they do take some time to do, the game's long. My name is Sora and I'll see you in the next one. And hey, at least everyone was happy at the end. Well, that looks grim.